Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, returning subscribers, and people wondering why this is in their recommended, and welcome to my new series called What Happens When. Now, I know that I'm in the middle of my Celeste Let's Play, but I wanted to make this because even though I really like Celeste, Hollow Knight is one of my favorite games of all time, and they just announced the sequel. Or, you know, couple months from when I'm recording this and uploading this to YouTube, of course. And I figured that I should just use this time to try out an idea that I've been working for a semi-reviewed, semi-joking description of each boss, beginning with the words what happens when, or what would happen, or some variety of that phrase. Along with that, I'll also be giving each boss a 1 to 46 rating based on how much I liked it. At least I'm pretty sure that's it. I can't find the official number of bosses. Oh, and spoilers, but I figured that was kind of obvious. So let's get into it. Wait, actually, real quick before we start. I feel I should clarify my rating system a little bit. Just so you know, it's not specific, and my opinions of each boss tend to shift day to day. And not all of them are specific, but I am interested in hearing your thoughts. And remember, just my opinion, let's go. What happens when your unborn babies are a bigger threat than you are? What happens when you put the Area 1 mid-boss in Area 2? What happens when your first required boss has more unanswered questions than the main character? What happens when your idea of a more difficult boss fight is just speeding up the animations? I couldn't tell if there was more. What happens when your badass female character becomes a meme? What happens when you really have to stretch your definition of God? Are you listening, Godmaster Content Pack? What would happen if the Amazon tribe were mantises? What? What happens when you forget to add a death animation to your boss? No, really, that is the most notable thing about him. There's literally nothing else to add. Right, let's get this out of the way. The Soul Master is what happens when you surprise the player with a second phase, and the Soul Tyrant is what happens when you try to use that second phase card again. It's not actually dead, it's not a surprise anymore. Jerry, just skip it. What happens when you try to sustain a boss fight with poop jokes? What happens when you try to sustain a boss fight with deep lore and poop jokes? What happens when you try to sustain a boss fight with deep lore and... Wait, what? No, we've done this twice already. Can we just move on? No, sure, that's understandable. You have the ability to fight the poop joke guy 4 times, but you can only fight the Mantis Lords once. Oh, come on, Team Cherry! What is your obsession with poop jokes? What happens when you put fan service ahead of a decent boss fight? What would happen if the actual embodiment of apathy became a boss? What happens when the only change you can make to a boss is just to make the room smaller? There were more changes? I didn't notice them. What happens when it's your first attempt designing a ghost boss fight? What happens when you take one of, or at least presumably, one of the most intelligent beings known to the entirety of the Hollow Nest Kingdom, that, let's be honest now, probably just died from natural causes, and turning it into what is essentially What happens when a blind person has a better chance of killing you than the next boss? What happens when you turn clickbait into a boss fight? What happens when you let William Helen make a boss fight based on his buzzsaw fetish? What happens when ProJared donates to your Kickstarter? What happens when you throw What happens when your worshipper is more powerful than the god he worshipped? What happens when you make a paddleball boss? What happens when you... Look, bottom line, Marmu sucks. What happens when you have to turn your boss fight into a semi-tutorial because you think your audience doesn't know how the dashing mechanic works? You know, the one that we've had since the beginning of the... whatever. What happens when you turn your addiction into a boss fight? What happens when you learn how to use the copy-paste function on Unity? What happens when you put the Metroid in Metroidvania with a jellyfish boss who's apparently so difficult it divides the fanbase? What happens when you start running out of ideas? What happens when you take a serious character and make him a joke boss? What happens when you take a joke character and make him a joke boss? What happens when you take a joke character and make him a serious boss fight? What happens when you take a joke character and... Oh no, not this again. No, you're kidding, right? You've gotta be kidding. Look, Team Cherry, I get it. You want your meme character to be as big as possible, but Hornet is Void is already a big enough meme. Can we just move on? So, let me get this straight. I can refight the Grey Prince, but I cannot refight the Mantis Lords. Fine, look, fine, look. Here's what he looks like. Oh, look at this. Hey, look, get it? It's a joke character. Get it? Because it's now actually powerful. Look at all them adjectives. Can we please just move on? No? Well, fine then. Screw you too. Look, we get it, Team Cherry. Zote is your golden meme lord. I don't want to do this anymore. Can we please just be done with this? Okay, I just looked it up. You have to fight him 10 times. 10 times. That is insane! Your reward for fighting him is a golden statue. Your reward for fighting Zote 10 times is a golden statue. A golden statue. What happens when you have a boss that puts the Vania and Metroidvania with a fetch quest? Wait a minute, did Castlevania have a fetch quest? I never actually thought. What happens when your boss fight is so difficult that the people who beat it say that it's easy? No, I'm not even kidding. I literally can't lose to Nightmare King Grimm anymore. I beat him on Radiant mode before I beat Markoth on Radiant mode. I don't know how! What happens when the quote-unquote final boss is 50% scripted? What happens when your quote-unquote true final boss is 20% scripted? What happens when you strike gold with one of the most amazing boss fights of all time? No, seriously, Tiso is an amazing character and one of the most memorable bosses in all of gaming history. Not only is he one of the most difficult fights in the game... Wait, who are you? Who are you? I don't have any notes on you. Who is this guy? Oh, the guy from the first... Oh, I forgot you existed. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when you are double-teamed. What happens when you make the best boss fight of the game even better? Not really, because that's what she does before. What happens when you play Splatoon before designing a boss? What happens when you make a boss so unoriginal that your only excuse for its blandness is that it's a shapeshifter? What happens when you don't fire the guy who suggests that greedy Bug Yoda would be a good idea for a boss? Greedy Bug Yoda. What? What happens when your quote-unquote final boss is 0% scripted? What happens when your quote-unquote true final boss for real this time is less likely to kill you than the glitches that plague this fight? Okay, Team Cherry, I understand that this is sort of a work in progress, but like, I've died 4 times because of an instant death glitch that I couldn't get out of. Please fix this. And we're done. Are there any other bosses that I missed? You know, besides Brooding Moloch. Oh, of course! Yeah, 100 out of 46, best boss in the game, at least it's not the Grey Prince. And now, my favorite and least favorite bosses. First, my favorite boss. You know, gotta start off positive. The Mantis Lords are my favorite boss fight because they accurately represent everything that Hollow Knight has to offer. You're going to need to make good use of your nail and quick reaction times in order to take this boss down. Here's where things get interesting. If you fail, and then you leave, you'll meet Coral, who will tell you that, yeah, Mantis Lords are difficult, but don't worry, there's this place where you can get your nail upgraded. And this is what best represents Hollow Knight. Do you need that upgraded nail? No. But does it help? Yes. And this sort of replayability on your choices and the path that you take, more specifically with the abilities that you choose to get or wait to get, are one of the greatest things about this game. Like, can you fight Umu without the tear? Can you beat the Hive Knight in a nail-only run? How long can you go without getting the Shade Cloak? The answer is a while. Another thing that I really like about the Mantis Lords is that when they're on screen, they actually start using some exclusive attacks depending on how many are on screen. Unlike that, you know, other boss, which is literally just copy and pasted for the sake of having a copy-paste boss. I have to say, I actually really did like the Sisters of Battle boss fight that they added in. But with the Sisters of Battle boss fight comes my least favorite. Fun fact, my least favorite boss fight was originally going to be Nosk. I mean, basically every mention of this guy makes him sound threatening. His journal entry in the Hunter's Journal makes him sound threatening, or at least some sort of manipulator. His boss fight has very good build-up. The problem is, well, he's pathetically easy because of an exploit. And he only had 2 moves until the Hidden Dreams update, and even in Ascended mode for Godmaster, he is still pretty easy once you figure out his patterns. Then I found out that his original design was going to have wings, and I was like, why would you take this out? This would have been awesome. I mean, I don't know, maybe limitations on how much they had to do, or because they had to rush the game out or something, I don't know. All I know is that it really would have been cool. I changed my mind. Listen, sorry Mossbag, but Wing Nosk just is not a very good boss in my opinion. First of all, he can only be found in the Pantheon, meaning that, unlike the Mantis Lords, there's not much room for experimentation. And by experimentation, I mean going through the games without certain upgrades or ability. Oh, and before you ask, no, the bindings don't count because you have to go through several bosses instead of just one. Nosk, and unlike the other Nosk fight, there's barely any build-up to this one. I mean, good build-up, but not as much. And here's the worst part. Every single one of his moves are stolen from another boss fight. His Scurry attack, Vengefly King. His Summon attack, Vengefly King. But they're not the same enemy. You're right, they're not the same enemy. It's the summons that come from the Lost Kin fight. The rest, you know, that one, the one that was actually interesting, had good build-up, and was a boss fight that made me feel plenty of emotions. Yeah, I felt no emotions for this other than, wow, that looks really cool, and then immediately afterward, wow, I just got clickbaited again. The rest of its attacks are just rip-offs from the regular Nosk fight. Spraying acid, going up to the ceiling so that it can spray acid on you. Oh, it's all just a rip-off. Look, I'm fine with an easy boss fight. I'm fine with a ridiculous boss fight. But I cannot tolerate a boss fight that just feels lazy. Finally, I just expected Nosk to be an awesome boss fight. I mean, the idea of Nosk with wings is impressive. Nosk was clickbait because he made you think that he was harder than he actually was. Winged Nosk is clickbait because he makes you think that he's cooler than he actually is. Thank you for watching. If you have any different opinions on who the best boss is, and I know that definitely someone will, then let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye-bye!